Crime prominent survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's sex crimes, Virginia Giuffre, has died by suicide. This according to her family.
Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent accusers, Virginia Giuffre, has died. According to her family, this survivor of Jeffrey Epstein has died by suicide.
One of the most prominent accusers of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has died. Virginia Giuffre dedicated her life trying to get Epstein and his enablers to face justice.
Testify about Bill Clinton. She can testify about celebrities from Hollywood, the music industry, the recording industry. She can testify about American politicians and global leaders, because she was one of the first and main sexual abuse and trafficking victims of Jeffrey Epstein, is dead by suicide. Her name is Virginia Giuffre. She's one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent abuse survivors, and she is allegedly died by her own hand, these bastards. Other Epstein's victims credited Giuffre with giving them the courage to speak out. Let's read.
How do the most powerful people in the world get away with child trafficking? How does a teenage girl, brave enough to testify against billionaires, royals, and presidents, end up dead under mysterious circumstances after publicly warning, "I am not suicidal"? Her name was Virginia Giuffre. She survived Jeffrey Epstein, she exposed them all, and now she's gone.
When the scope of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes finally came to light, Virginia Giuffre was the woman at the center of the story, publicly sharing painful details of her own experience. Giuffre said she was recruited by Epstein's girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell when she was just 14 years old. According to Giuffre, it was the start of years of sexual abuse by Epstein, Maxwell, and their friends.
It was that constant, we own the police. You can't run. You can't tell anybody. We'll never be held accountable for this.
At age 17, Giuffre said Maxwell and Epstein directed her to have sex multiple times with Prince Andrew, an allegation the prince denied. Giuffre sued, and she settled with the prince in 2022, receiving an undisclosed amount of money. Epstein and Maxwell were both charged with sex trafficking. Epstein took his own life in federal prison before standing trial. Maxwell was convicted and given a 20-year sentence.
Jeffrey Epstein, a name once whispered in elite circles, now screamed across headlines around the world. But who was he really? How did this high school dropout climb his way into billionaires' mansions, palaces, and secret islands? And how did one man build a spiderweb of corruption, blackmail, and abuse that spanned the globe for decades? This story isn't just about Epstein, it's about the entire machine that protected him. It's about the victims, it's about the cover-ups, and it's about the horrifying truth they don't want you to know. 1953 to 1970. Born in Brooklyn in 1953, Epstein didn't come from wealth or power. In fact, he didn't even graduate from college, but somehow by his mid-20s, he was rubbing shoulders with Manhattan's elite, working at Bear Stearns as a high-flying financier. Was he a financial genius? No, he was a master manipulator. Epstein's real skill was networking, inserting himself into the lives of the rich and powerful, pretending to be one of them until eventually, he was. 1980 to 2000, Epstein didn't just make money, he collected people, politicians, royalty, CEOs, celebrities, scientists, even US president. With luxury mansions, private jets, the infamous Lolita Express, and his very own private island, Epstein built a playground where the rich and powerful could indulge their darkest desire, and with zero consequence. And he didn't just party with them, he gathered evidence against them, cameras, recordings, allegations of blackmail. If Epstein fell, a lot of powerful people would fall with him. 1990 to 2010, Epstein's crimes weren't a rumor, they were real. Young girls, some as young as 13, were lured into his network under the promise of money, fame, modeling gigs. They had to go through horrible things and then discarded like trash. But a few brave women refused to stay silent. Virginia Giuffre, Maria Farmer, Courtney Wild, names the world should never forget, stood up and started tearing down the walls of Epstein's empire. They were mocked, threatened, ignored, but they kept going. 2019. After decades of getting away with it, Epstein was finally arrested in July 2019, charged with sex trafficking minors. And just 1 month later, dead in a Manhattan jail cell, suicide, right before he could testify, right before the real names and the real crimes could be exposed. Dead men tell no tale, and suddenly, all the powerful people he could have named, they could breathe easy again. 2020. But Epstein's death didn't end the fight. Virginia Giuffre, one of his earliest and most outspoken victims, kept pushing for justice. She testified, she gave evidence, she fought not just for herself, but for every girl Epstein hurt. She helped convict Epstein's right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell. She helped expose Prince Andrew, forcing him to step down from royal duties after settling a lawsuit for millions. Virginia wasn't just a survivor, she was a warrior. But now, Virginia Giuffre is dead, allegedly by suicide at her farm in Australia after weeks of warning signs, after being run down by a mysterious bus crash that almost killed her. After posting publicly that she was not suicidal, she's gone. These bastards, they couldn't silence her in court. They couldn't bury the truth while she was alive. So what now? The woman who said she could testify about Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Hollywood elites, dead, and the world is supposed to just move on? Virginia's death isn't just a tragedy, it's a warning. The same systems that protected Epstein, like the same media that buried the story, the same celebrities and politicians who partied on his island, they are still here, still rich, still powerful, still unpunished. And every day they delay releasing Epstein's files. Every day the media gaslights us about what happened. Every day the victims' voices are silenced. It's one more day these monsters get to walk free. Alright guys, that's the rant for today. Sorry if this video was a little heavier than usual, but honestly some stuff just needs to be called out. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.